The presidency, Mr. President, has set itself the task of assessing SONA commitments for socio-economic impact so that delivery is not judged by announcements alone, but by its real effect on the people's life. House Chairperson, for government, this means cohesion must be built through visible action. It must be seen in a capable and ethical state, in institutions that are responsive and fair, in safer communities, in dignified access to services, and in a public administration that treats everyone with dignity and respect. That is why this budget vote supports execution discipline. Honorable members, citizens' engagement remains central to the work of the presidency through both mediated and unmediated platforms. The GCIS and its entities, Brand South Africa and MDDA, are therefore fully poised to support this engagement program. The GCIS is mandated to communicate the broad program of government and empower citizens through disseminating crucial information. In keeping with this mandate, Cabinet has approved the National Communication Strategic Framework to be driven by GCIS through the entire system of government. As a department reporting to the presidency, this work is done through full support of the ministry in the presidency. In this regard, we have started a series of consultations with SALGA and various provincial governments to socialize the national communication policy and align it for provincial implementation. We have already engaged with the Northwest Provincial Government. Free State is scheduled for next week, and plans to engage in Mpumalanga and others is continuing apace. This work seeks to achieve alignment on especially three key aspects. The first one being coordinated government messaging. The second one being ensuring that government departments set aside 3 to 5% of their operational budget to fund their communication function, and ensuring support for community media through a 30% of communication and advertising spent on community and grassroots media through the system of government. This work is further strengthened by the National Communication Strategic Framework, which calls for a more coherent, citizen-centered, and development-oriented government communication system. The National Communication Strategic Framework positions communication not as an afterthought to delivery, but as a strategic instrument for building trust, taking South Africans into confidence, and ensuring that a coherent message is communicated across all spheres of government. Honorable Chairperson, Brand SA is a custodian of our nation brand, mandated to promote our national reputation globally and domestically. Brand SA will only achieve this important task through nation brand alignment with all stakeholders, both in the private and public sector, so that we can all understand that our actions can be brand enablers or disablers. The work that Brand South Africa does through the support of the presidency ensures that South African products are bought abroad, that investors do invest in South Africa, tourists visit our shores, and foreign students choose our universities. Honorable members, the MDDA is mandated to ensure diversified ownership of media platforms and consumption of media products curated by community and grassroots media platforms in their local languages. The MDDA's grant and seed funding program supports the sustainability, growth, and development of community media through both capital and operational investment. This support translates to just over 50 million for 2025, 2026, and 2026 to 2027 financial years in broadcast equipment and operational budgets donated to community media. Honorable President, last week Thursday, I had the honor to preside over the official handover of the state-of-the-art studios to Vaal University of Technology, FM. This moment represented a meaningful investment in the voice, identity, and cohesion of young people and the wider community of Vanderbilt Park. Community radio stations such as VUT-FM hold a unique and powerful place in our society. It is not just about transmitting sound across the airwaves. It's about connecting people. It's about making sure that our communities are not only informed, but also heard. In so many ways, a community radio such as VUT-FM is the heartbeat of our communities. Through our G20 presidency, our country has affirmed that enduring progress depends on partnership, fairness, and our shared humanity. These are apparent lessons even for our domestic governance. No community can flourish while another is left behind. No democracy can be secure while exclusion persists, and no developmental project can succeed without social trust. This requires the steady and calm hand of the president, supported by a capable presidency, to ensure that the work that is done in uprooting malfeasance across the system of government, especially the criminal sector, is ably supported. Through this budget vote, therefore, the work of the presidency is not only to coordinate government, but to strengthen execution, restore confidence in public institutions, and help hold together the deeper promise held in the democratic project. Let us continue with humility and determination to build a South Africa in which our diversity remains a source of strength, our inspirations command confidence, and every person can feel they belong to a common future. However, those who refuse to listen cannot demand respect from the very voices they don't want to hear. Truth, strength is not monologue, it is a bridge. And those who burn the bridge cannot wonder no one walks their way. We have seen some in this house who style themselves as progressive caucus walking out of the house. Yet they want to engage in a debate they have abandoned. We are neither impressed nor moved by this infantile theatrics.
Infantile disorder.
Honorable Deputy Minister.
Irrelevant.
Thank you. The next speaker is the Honorable Ghana.
Chairperson. Chairperson. House Chair.
Where is the
There, my chair.
order, honorable members. Honorable Daniels.
Thank you, House Chairperson. Chairperson, this is not point of orders and those type of frivolous things.
So why are you rising, honorable member?
I believe this may be the right, I didn't want to interrupt nobody, but I think from your platform, Chairperson, it is important that last time when we had challenges in the dome, you made a call from there. I just want to draw your attention to that. We've waited so long to come back to the dome after hybrid meetings.
What is the point, honorable
The
member?
point of order is, Chair, Public Works need to come and look at this thing. As we're sitting here, there's sand and things falling on us, there's leaves falling on us. There's some issues here with this dome, Chairperson.
No, thank you, honorable member. We will bring it to the attention order of the relevant officials so that they can attend to it. The next speaker is the Honorable Ghana.
Ngakhensa Mtramashitulu. Mtramashitulu, I would have wished for Honorable Hlope to be in the house so that I can shake his hand. The single biggest criticism that he has about my election yesterday is that I did not shake his hand. So I would have loved for him to be in the house so that I shake his hand. Na cancer, Mtramashitulu, Datana President, loko mrangeri wa Rise Mzansi, tlhelo Mtramashitulu wa Committee ya Scopa, Honorable Zivi avulavula endzhaku ka ku va mihlawuriwile tani President. U kombele ku ri no mi va President ya maAfrika-Dzonga hinkwavo. He reminded us that collectively we carry a weighty task. As a leader, yourself mandated to defend, to uphold and respect the Constitution, we believe you understand the weight of being a creature of statutes. Na mehe tolo va nihlawurile President. Ni fanele landzelela nawu wa tiko. Ni fanele landzelela vumbiwa bya tiko. Crucially, the Constitution places oversight and accountability over you and your office directly within this House and the newly established Impeachment Committee. Whilst it is within your rights to take the independent panel report under judicial review, this House must be clear. The committee will proceed with its work until such time that the court pronounces otherwise.
Budget, please.
We will do our work without fear, without favor, and without prejudice. Mintiro itavulavula,
Budget,
not
please.
politicking. Imintiro ingatavula. It is good, Mr. President, that you exercise your rights, but it must also be clear to South Africans that you will subject yourself to the impeachment committee if we get to that stage and you are called to appear before the committee. While appearing before a parliamentary committee is unprecedented for a president, even the late President Mandela appeared before a court of law when called, despite his personal irritation. This is the weight of leadership. This significant milestone signals strengthen our constitutional democracy.
Honorable Ghana, just take your seat for a moment. Honorable Deputy Minister, why do you want to be recognized?
Yes, ikombela ku ri bogana va vulavula hi budget. A va vulavula hi budget vote one, Chairman.
Yeah, no, thank you, Deputy Minister. Members have definitely some leeway, as we've already seen during the debate, to address other matters apart from the budget.
So,
Honorable Ghana, please continue.
Mr. President, it has become unfashionable to speak out against what is wrong for fear of retribution. As the head of state, as Rise Mzansi, would like for you to continue to speak out very clearly against violent groups taking the law into their own hands, profiling people, and deciding who is a citizen. The government must also take responsibility for the corruption at Home Affairs and our borders. The systematic failure has fueled tensions that are the direct outcome of high unemployment and crime. We must also confront the quiet desperation breaking our households. Our people are drowning under crushing cost of living, driving many to seek an impossible escape. We cannot look away, Mr. President, when online gambling addiction, fed by free-for-all access and advertising, ravages our communities. The government must step up and treat gambling addiction as a severe public health crisis that truly is. In closing, we will all contest the local ballot with a commitment to fostering
Honorable
a safe
Ghana,
and clean.
Honorable Ghana, my apologies. Just take your seat for a moment. Honorable
I'll shake your
Douglas,
hand
why
after
do you
the
want to
speech.
be recognized?
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I would like to find out if the Honourable Member would like to take a question about Rise's 30 million
Honorable
rand that they
Douglas,
got from White Monopoly
Honorable
Capital.
Douglas, you know better. We first inquire whether he is prepared to take a question.
I will shake
Honorable
your hand.
Ghana, are you prepared to take a
Mr.
question?
President, let us all commit to a safe, prosperous, equal, and united South Africa in one generation. I tirelentiko, Mr. President. Nava akatiko ba Afrika Dzonga. Na khensa mthomo.
Thank you, Honorable Ghana. The Honorable Dr. Maimane.
Can Honorable Ghana give them handshakes?
Order, honorable members. There is no provision in our rules that after 6 o'clock you can just unmute and speak. Please remain disciplined. Dr. Maimane, please continue.
Thank you, House Chairperson, honorable members, Bagaitso, President Dumela. Mr. President, I would want you to succeed. Like you want Bafana Bafana to succeed, I want you to succeed. For us to be able to achieve that, we know quite clearly that we must build one South Africa, we must have a nation that prosper, and for that to happen, those are duties enshrined in the duties of what the President is meant to do. But Mr. President, I think we can all agree our country finds itself in a difficult place. Business confidence is lower under your leadership than it was under President Mbeki. 63 million South Africans look to the government of national unity for leadership, for opportunity. Yet many of them find themselves in a hopeless space. They experience frustration. They are worried. They don't live in a country that is safe. Many of them are watching corruption play itself out. Mr. President, benthetha nomamam, utsho kum uthi, abantu bayavela i-corruption, kodwa ayikho into enzakalayo. Ndizawucela President, xa uzophendula apha, utsho uba i-Commission of Inquiry nento ezinjalo zenze ntoni apha eMzantsi Afrika. Honorable President, in this light, I truly believe It is in the interest of our country that we don't find you distracted. I would argue, honorable members, a distracted president will become a dysfunctional president. The president, we need you at a time such as this one focused on the job at hand. Therefore, Mr. President, I do not believe we need to be spending too much time in courts fighting pala issues. I believe Parliament has a job, and Mr. President, in your innocence, I believe you need to appear before the committee and set the record straight. When President Zuma was fighting the state, we spent 30 million rands. And I would say, Mr. President, if you want to go to court, which is your right, then maybe pay for the legal fees yourself. Furthermore, Mr. President,
Or resign.
I would argue that in moving away from the distraction, let's focus on deliberate action. So here are some proposals, Mr. President, that I'd like to put before you. The first is on economic reform. The Deputy President is in India at the moment. They have successfully moved over 250 million Indians out of poverty. Isn't it our job to move over 10 million South Africans out of poverty into the middle class so that they are active participants into the economy? I would argue for reform. Secondly, Mr. President, when we think about the issue of crime, let's stop the Hollywood. Let's appoint a permanent minister of police. Let's ensure that there are no more actors. And more crucially, Mr. President, perhaps amend the Municipal Policing Act so that policemen that act in cities can also prosecute some crimes, so we increase the force. Mr. President, I met a number of departments, and many of them who have been de-linked have duplicated functions. Let's narrow the state and make it more efficient. So, Mr. President, like GBV, let's end commissions and all sorts of ministries. Let's create one centralized fund to fight the battle against violence against women. Ultimately, Mr. President, we are builders. We want to build. Let's build this country. And I hope you stay out of court and at work. I support. Thank you very much, President.
Order, honorable members. The Honorable Ganyase.
I extend greetings to you, Chair, Chief Whip of the Majority Party, Honorable Nduli, President Ramaphosa, honorable members, and the people of South Africa. Honorable Chair, we gather here today as we begin the month of June, a month which we dedicate to honoring the strength, zeal, and fighting capacity of the youth. In this 50th jubilee of the June 16 Youth Uprising, we acknowledge that the struggle continues. The youth of today may not burn tires and march on the streets every day. However, they are in a battle for inclusion in the economy and decision-making platforms, access to opportunities, to be heard, to be protected, and kept safe. Today in KwaZulu-Natal, the Department of Education was opening the newly built state-of-the-art Umbuso Bheka ICT, Engineering and Technology School of Excellence. This is progress in action. The youth are in schools, institutions of higher learning, skills centers and programs. They are starting businesses in unfavorable conditions, leading research and innovations that offer South Africa new solutions. They are bold and clear that they want to be part of the solution, and they do this practically. We cannot forget about the youth who are not active anywhere, not in education, not working, not involved in any activity. As we honor the youth of 1976, we do so acknowledging that they laid the foundation for youth to own their power, know their strength, and dare to envision entering spaces that were taboo for them in the past. It is without a doubt that 32 years into democracy, a lot has been done to embitter the lives of the people of South Africa. However, today we face new challenges. Youth unemployment in South Africa has become a crisis, one that can no longer be ignored. The youth of this country suffer under open economic exclusion. This has led to the state of hopelessness, indignity, mental health challenges, drug abuse, and many other social ills. We raise this not in ignoring all the hard work that has been done in carrying out the transformative projects, but in cautioning the need for speed in implementation, the need to roll out all progressive initiatives to more areas in our country, including the deepest rural areas and townships. Honorable President, to whom much is given, much is expected. South Africa is a world-class country, and its potential has been demonstrated by the great strides that have been made to attempt to address the imbalances of the past. The bar has continued to be raised by different terms of government, and now it must be surpassed. Government must continue to act. There is capacity to act. Youth unemployment is linked to broader patterns of economic exclusion. Access to quality education, skills development opportunities, financial resource, digital technologies, and entrepreneurial support remains unevenly distributed across South African society. These inequalities continue to reproduce historical patterns of disadvantage and limit economic mobility. Government has significantly expanded access to education through programs such as free fee education, higher education. Challenges remain. Concerns related to student indebtedness and the exclusion of the missing middle who do not qualify for full financial aid yet struggle to afford tertiary education. These barriers constrain opportunities for skill acquisition and labor market advancement. Government has sought to address these challenges through initiatives such as the One Country, One Skills Plan, the Human Resource Development Strategy, and the Master Skills Plan. These initiatives aim to improve alignment between education and labor market requisitions, while promoting skills relevant to the digital economy, technological innovation, and future employment opportunities. Entrepreneurship has emerged as a critical mechanism for addressing youth unemployment and promoting economic inclusion. Micro, small, medium enterprises play an important role in employment creation, innovation, and local economic development. Consequently, strengthening the youth entrepreneurship ecosystem should form a central component of South Africa's youth development strategy. There is increasing recognition that financial institutions, government agencies, and development finance institutions should expand support for youth-owned enterprises. Access to finance, business incubation, mentorship, market opportunities, and enterprise development support are essential components of a successful entrepreneurship ecosystem. The Department of Small Business Development 2026-2027 strategy focuses on building an integrated micro, small, medium enterprise support system through incubation, blended finance, innovation support, supplier development, and improved market access. Central to this approach is the implementation of the Public Procurement Act 28 of 2024, which seeks to expand procurement opportunities for youth-owned MSMEs and cooperatives through set-asides, subcontracting, and localization measures. These reforms are intended to advance inclusive economic transformation and translate political freedom into meaningful economic participation for South Africa's youth. Despite current challenges, significant opportunities exist within emerging sectors of the economy. Technological innovation, digital transformation, and the transition towards a greener economy are creating new employment pathways and entrepreneurial opportunities. The digital economy offers opportunities in fields such as artificial intelligence, software development, cybersecurity, digital services, fintech, e-commerce, and data analytics. Similarly, the green economy presents opportunities in renewable energy, sustainable agriculture, environmental management, and climate adaptation initiatives. These sectors are expected to play an increasingly important role in future economic growth and employment creation. Institutions such as the National Youth Development Agency, National Student Financial Aid Scheme, Small Enterprise Development and Finance Agency, SEDFA, and Sector Education and Training Authorities, SETAs, have contributed to improving opportunities for many young South Africans. These are intentional interventions aimed at supporting the development of the youth of South Africa. There is a long-term solution for strengthening of our economy, such as that we're able to implement all progressive policies of government to change the lives of all South Africans without worrying about fiscal constraints. That is through putting up export quotas, beneficiating our minerals locally in order to industrialize our economy and revive our secondary sectors. We can use our God-given mineral resources to create jobs and increase participation in the economy. Chairperson, despite the work that still needs to be done to get more young people skilled, working, and funded to start their own businesses, there are success stories. The Presidential Youth Employment Intervention in Q3 of the period between October and December 2025 ensured that 294,530 earning opportunities were secured through the National Pathway Management Network. The revitalized National Youth Service placed 132,784 young people in paid service opportunities. The National Youth Development Agency recently announced 100,000 National Youth paid service opportunities, which have been unlocked through the Phase 5 of the National Youth Service Program. The National Student Financial Aid Scheme for this year is funding over 1 million students who were recipients of social grants whilst in school are automatically approved to be funded by NEFSAS. The Small Enterprise Development Finance Agency, SEDFA, in the 2024-2025 financial year, has disbursed approximately 552 million to youth-owned enterprises. This should serve as restoring hope that help is on the way. The youth who have not yet benefited from these initiatives will eventually be reached. The youth must be unrelenting and uncompromising in demanding more and positioning themselves to receive these opportunities, armed with skills, qualifications, and innovative ideas. I support Budget 1. I thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Reddy.
What I fear is that the liberators will emerge as elitists who drive around in Mercedes Benzes and use the resources of this country to live in palaces and to gather riches. Chairperson, let me pause here and let me greet the real president of this country, our President Jacob Zuma. I want to greet our ground forces and our commanders who are watching this debate today. I also want to greet our comrades from the Progressive Caucus and the Congress of the Left. After hearing the words of Chris Hani, South Africans and MK Party are asking some very painful and serious questions. Was Chris Hani warning us about apartheid, or was he warning us about what the ANC would become? Because if Chris Hani walked into this chamber today, what would he see? You see, the spirits of Oliver Tambo, the spirit of Peter Mokaba, the spirit of Lenny Naidu, the spirit of Chris Hani, the spirit of Winnie Mandela, the spirit of Nomkosi Mini. These are people that gave their lives, they shed their blood so that we can have freedom. But the freedom we have today was stolen by the ANC of Ramaphosa. You see, when Chris Hani comes here, he's going to ask, how is it that we found ourselves in this position? MK Party cannot call this man here, Mr. Ramaphosa, president. And I'm going to tell you why. His presidency has been marked with controversy. In 2017, we all know it's a fact. To all of you here in this ANC under Ramaphosa, 2017 and CR17 is synonymous. We all know for a fact that billions were spent on his ascendancy to become the ANC president. You know it. Many of you took some of that money too. And you can't challenge me because I was there. Then we also know that there was a public protector called Busisiwe Mkobane. She found
Honorable
that the
Honorable
president...
Reddy, please take your seat for a moment. I have a hand to my right. Honorable Hassan.
House Chairperson, thank you very much. I want to rise on an order, but particularly Rule 68, referring to irrelevance and repetition of the Speaker. What is before us is the budget vote debate on the presidency, not the Speaker's opinions and views on these issues.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Hassan. In debates like this, we give a broad political discretion to all matters in the public domain. Honorable Reddy, please continue.
So, this is what CR 17 was all about. And you may not know
Honorable
it.
Reddy, I have another hand to my right. Please take your seat. Honorable member, is that a new matter?
Yes.
Yes, please proceed.
No, thank you very much, House Chair. Rules of the House are being breached because the honorable member there on the side is busy taking pictures while we're in session. Can you deal with that?
Thank you. Honorable members, earlier in this sitting, the Honorable Frolic already reminded all members that there's the broadcast, there's the YouTube where you can go and clip the parts you like. Please don't do your own recording, it's in breach of our rules. Honorable Reddy, please
So we find
continue.
it difficult as MK Party to refer to president because we know how he became the president. We know what was paid, how much was paid. We know that. And then I also want to tell you why we walked out here in this chamber. We walked out and we did not stay here this afternoon to hear his speech because we cannot consider someone who has so many questions hanging over his head around the Pala Pala issue, where we see a constitutional court ruling that said that he has questions to answer for. Now, there's 31 questions, but he has a habit of going to court to silence the truth. He did it in 2017. He didn't want South Africans to know where the money came from. Now he's doing the same thing. Colleagues, in 2022, this parliament and this speaker, they silenced
Honorable
the
Reddy,
truth.
Honorable Reddy, just take your seat for a moment. I have hands there at the back. I can only recognize one at a time.
Thank you, House Chair. Mr. Speaker, on the podium, I'm prepared to take a question.
Thank you. I'll inquire.
We want to ask.
No.
what
We first inquire, honorable member.
Our MK.
Order, honorable members.
No, but we're not going to be
Please
told by
take your seat, honorable member. I'll inquire from honorable Reddy.
They're intimidating
Sit
me.
down in front.
Order. Order, honorable members. Honorable Reddy, are you prepared to take a question?
As soon as I'm done, I will take that question, I promise you.
I have another hand there at the back. Is that, honorable member, why do you want to be recognized?
Thank you, House Chair. I rise on Rule 85, reflections upon members and the President. No member may impute improper motives to any member or cast personal reflections upon the President. Honorable Reddy has just done that. I think he must withdraw. Thank you.
No, honorable member, I think you with the greatest of respect, you need to be slightly more specific. What was the specific words which you deem to be a reflection on the integrity of...
He said that he's a constitutional delinquent. Didn't you hear him? Just go to answer.
Order. Honorable members, I'm not prepared to say that the term constitutional delinquent is unparliamentary. Honorable Reddy, please continue.
So in 2022, the ANC used its majority and suppressed this report. And now, in 2026, they're doing the same thing, but they don't have a majority. They're using those GNU partners to do it. And if you look at the impeachment committee, it's packed with GNU lackeys. These are parties that all receive cabinet positions from none other than Mr. Ramaphosa himself. And you're expecting those 19 GNU parties...
Honorable Reddy, just take your seat for a moment. Honorable Hassan, you just unmuted and then blew into the microphone. That is very unbecoming of a member of Parliament.
Leave the house.
Honorable Hassan, if you repeat such behavior, I'm going to ask you to leave the chamber.
Noted, House Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Reddy, please continue.
Sorry, there's another hand. I hope my time is being monitored.
Yeah,
please.
now
I've got important things to say.
your own chief whip wants to interrupt you. Honorable...
No, Mr. Chair, I'm just asking that his time be reset because we could not hear what he said because of that. So please add another minute or two. Thank you.
Honorable Dugmore, we're not going to reset any time. We do stop the time of the member at the podium the moment there is an interruption. Honorable Dugmore, why do you want to be recognized?
I rise on a point of order, Chair. Could you please rule on whether the description of members of this House as lackeys is parliamentary or not?
You're a lackey.
Honorable Reddy, I did not give you permission to enter into a conversation with the Honorable Dugmore. Honorable Dugmore, I will look into the context in which it was used. If it indeed refers to this House, I will deem it as unparliamentary. If it is, however, a broader statement not implicating any specific member, I cannot rule in your favor, but I'll consult the Hansard. Honorable Reddy, continue.
So in 2026, you see that the ANC is doing the same thing, but there's something else that has
Honorable
happened.
Reddy, I have another hand. Honorable members to my right, I'm going
The
to...
more
No,
points of orders
Honorable
you
Reddy,
get,
please.
the more I get promoted in my party.
Honorable
So
Reddy.
keep it coming.
Honorable members to my right, I'm going to recognize you, but just remember, earlier in this sitting, you pleaded for a ruling against what the members on my left for repeatedly raising points of order to stop the flow of the debate. Don't do the same thing. Honorable member, why do you want to be recognized?
Chairperson, thank you. I rise on reference to members as lackeys in terms of Rule 87. Rule 87, Chairperson reads.
Honorable member, I don't know whether you maybe was distracted. I'm not going to say proper, not with us, when the Honorable Dugmore raised his point of order, but he raised that point of order already, and I said I'll look into the answer.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, Honorable Reddy, please continue.
So now we have a speaker who is also finding herself in trouble with the law. You have a constitutional judgment that says the Section 89 report has to be handed to the impeachment committee. Yesterday, the impeachment committee sat and no report. And we also read in the media that the speaker met with
Honorable Reddy, just take your seat. Honorable Skosana, why do you want to be recognized?
No, thank you very much, Honorable Chair. I'm rising on Rule 85. Honorable Reddy is casting aspersion to the Honorable Speaker. He says the Speaker is in trouble with the law. Can you rule on that, Honorable Chair, please?
Yeah, thanks. Honorable Skosana, I understand the context in which that specific phrase was used to have been unpacked when he then talked about the way in which the Speaker has implemented the judgment of the Constitutional Court. So,
rules are
order,
in context now.
I'm on the floor. So in the context, there is not a specific inference to the fact that the Speaker has already been found to have broken the law. It's an argument. Therefore, it's permissible. Honorable Reddy, please continue.
So the Speaker then has not produced that report, which is a requirement by the judgment, Honorable Skosana. She hasn't done that. Now, what is happening? We're seeing a repeat of what happened in 2022, where this Parliament and this Ramaphosa ANC is once again closing ranks around the President.
Honorable Reddy, I have another hand there at the back. Honorable,
Thank you. Keep it coming. I'm going higher up.
Honorable Reddy, work with me. Please just take your seat.
House Chair, I rise in terms of Rule 84.
Yes.
The Honorable...
Order, honorable members. I want to hear the point of order.
House Chair, I rise in terms of Rule 84.
Sit down, Mkondo. Sit down, Mkondo.
The toy soldiers there, they are making unacceptable gestures, which suggest that they are going to beat up people. They are doing this in the house.
Honorable member, I've already asked that we allow the debate to continue by not repeatedly raising
The President is sleeping.
frivolous points of order. I have not seen any threatening gestures. Honorable member, order. Order. Honorable member, this is now a further opportunity where you've raised a point of order solely aimed at interrupting the Honorable Reddy. The next time it happens, I'm going to rule that you are acting in a grossly disorderly manner. Honorable Douglas, Honorable Reddy, not yet you. Honorable Douglas.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. The rules are very clear. The Rule 92 prohibits disruption through improper points of order, and they need to identify what the point of order is. So, Mr. Chair, our speaker is being disadvantaged that he cannot get his points across, and he's being hamstrung by all these frivolous points of order. Could you please rule on this and make sure that it doesn't happen again? Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Douglas. I've now issued a guidance to that specific member that a further frivolous point of order on his behalf will be deemed as grossly disorderly. I will apply the rules. Honorable Reddy, please continue.
The truth hurts, honorable members, and you can see it's hurting very hard. It's cutting very deep. And let's cut a little bit deeper now, and let's call a spade a spade. Mr. Ramaphosa, it's time you resign. Save the country and save whatever is left of the ANC. Let me speak to the ANC today. The ANC is now a shadow of its former self. Under President Zuma, the ANC was a mass movement. In 2009, the ANC had nearly 66%. In 2014, 62%. And under this leadership, it's 57% in 2019. And in 2014, you're now 40%. You're going cap in hand to a party like the DA.
Honorable Reddy, please take your seat. Honorable Minister of Mineral and Petroleum Resources.
Honorable Speaker, it is incorrect to
What
quote-
rule?
No, Honorable Minister. Order. Order.
It is incorrect.
I will deal with the matter.
Honorable Speaker, it is incorrect for a member to quote numbers wrongly to make a point.
Honorable Minister, that's not a point of order.
It's a point of order.
No, it's a point of
There was
debate.
no
Please take your seat.
66%
I can't rule in your favor.
2009.
Honorable Minister, please take your seat.
The highest point was
Honorable
in
Minister.
2004.
Order.
Yeah.
Honorable Minister, please take your seat. Order. Honorable
is-
Reddy, before you continue. Honorable members, please don't interrupt the Honorable Reddy because you want to disagree with the content of your speech. If you have, no, Honorable Minister, I'm not giving you the floor again. If you have something to add to the debate and you're not on the speaker's list, give a note to whoever is on the list from your party. Honorable Reddy, please continue.
Here's another fact. Under this president, ANC, you lost over 3 million voters. When Honorable Musi Maimani was a leader of the DA, and a few thousand white voters left the DA because he was a black leader, they fired him. 3 million of your voters left you, and you're still keeping this man. Don't you think it's time that he resigned, or you took him out to save the ANC and save the country?
Honorable Reddy, please take your seat. I have a hand to my right. Honorable Deputy Minister, why do you want to be recognized?
No, thank you so much, Chairperson of the House. I'm on Rule 85. And on Rule 85, Chair, the Speaker on the floor, with respect to Rule 85, 1 and 2, he has continuously not called His Excellency the President, referred to him with derogatory terms, to call him this man. But there are also a number of instances, Chair. I want you to find time and space just to refer to some content on Hansard. Some of the things that are actually happening here. Rule number 2, 85.2, makes a provision wherein you want to actually impugn on the standing of a member, he has to bring a substantive motion. And a number of instances has happened here. I don't want you to make the rule now, but please check your Hansard. Thank you.
Order. Thank you, Deputy Minister. Firstly, on the first point of order you raised, you are quite correct, although it's not Rule 85. Our rules do require, Honourable Reddy, that we refer to one another as Honourable or at least Minister or President in the current case. Order, I'm still on the floor. So therefore, please refrain from talking about Ramaphosa for the rest of your speech. On the second part of the point of order, that was unfortunately, Deputy Minister, very vague. I cannot sustain the point of order, which in broad terms say, on many instances, what the members said calls for a substantive motion. Honourable Reddy, I have a hand to my left now. Honourable Douglas.
Thank you. I just want to ask you to clarify with the table that the use of Mr. Ramaphosa is acceptable according to the rules, Mr. Chair. That is actually acceptable and parliamentary.
That's indeed what I said.
Thank you.
Honourable Douglas, but your member did
Douglas
not
must
even
stop auditioning.
order. Did not even use Mr. And that's what the ruling is about. Honourable Reddy, please continue.
Thank you very much. I think let's get serious now. The truth of the matter is that there's no dignity left for the black child in this country. And we as MK Party and the progressive forces that are seated here today, our cry is for the future of that black child. And that future was gone the moment Mr. Ramaphosa became the president of this country. He has sold out to his handlers, and these are the ones that contributed to his CR17
Honourable
campaign.
Reddy, please take your seat for a moment. Honourable Skosana.
Thank you very much, Chair. I'm on Rule 85. Honorable Reddy is casting aspersion to the President. He says the President has sold out to his handlers. Yeah, please rule on that,
Thank
teacher.
you. Honourable Reddy, indeed, the President, like all members, have sworn an oath to uphold the Constitution. When you make the statement that he has sold out to handlers, it alleges that the President is not acting in accordance with that oath, and that requires a substantive motion.
He sold buffaloes.
Order. Please withdraw those words.
I withdraw his handlers, those that paid for his CR17 campaign. Thank you.
Honourable Reddy, that's not what I asked you to withdraw.
Honourable members.
Honourable Reddy.
I withdraw handlers.
No, I asked you to
unconditionally.
withdraw the statement you made that he sold out to his handlers.
I withdraw he sold out to his handlers.
Thank you.
He sold out to his handlers. Is that the one? Thank you.
No,
Now,
Honourable
let's-
Reddy,
let's-
we're not
let's-
going to, Honourable Reddy, we're not going to play games here with one another. Withdraw and continue with your speech. Otherwise, I will now hold you as acting grossly disorderly.
I withdraw. So what has happened today is that the ANC of Ramaphosa has gotten into bed
Honourable
with the
Reddy.
party, with Mr.
Honourable Reddy.
Mr. Ramaphosa,
Yeah,
my
I've
apologies.
sensitized you. I've made that ruling.
Yes,
If you're going to
my
disregard
apologies.
my ruling, I'm
Yes,
going to
my apologies.
ask you to leave the house.
Mr. Ramaphosa, the ANC of Mr. Ramaphosa has sold its soul to the DA. So a vote for the ANC today is actually a vote for the DA. And a vote for the DA is a vote for the ANC. Remember that when you go to the polls this year. So, Honorable Chairperson, why do established economic interests appear so comfortable with this arrangement, especially with the president of this country, while poor people continue to suffer? Why do powerful voices seem relaxed while unemployment in this country deepens? Why does the presidency feel so distant from radical economic transformation while inequality grows? because the perception outside is painful that the ANC under your leadership has drifted from the poor and become too comfortable with the status quo. Chairperson, thank God President Jacob Zuma saw the warning signs. He saw the frustration, he saw millions feeling abandoned, and he understood that freedom without dignity becomes symbolism. And that is why MK Party exists today. We are here to continue the struggle. And when you see us wearing combat, it doesn't mean that we are soldiers. It means that we are a symbol of the struggle continuing. A luta continua. That's what it means. We want to continue the struggle for our land. We want to continue the struggle for jobs, for dignity, for safety, for a future where the black child survives and thrives. Chairperson, please, don't come and lecture to us, the poor people, about defending the Constitution while dignity collapses. A Constitution means very little, beautiful on paper, but absolutely nothing to the lived realities of our people. Look at petrol prices. Petrol prices are going up on Wednesday. For the first time in our history, under President Zuma, it was 12 rands a litre. Let me remind you. Now we're paying 25 rands petrol, 32 rands for diesel, all under Mr. Ramaphosa. And you're telling me that life can be better? That is why we as MK reject this budget. Vote MK in the local government elections. Kwaza Mkonto, Kwaza.
Thank you, Honorable Reddy. Honorable Reddy, please just remain at the podium for a moment. Yes. Honorable members, on the 15th of May 2026, during the mini-plenary debate of Budget Vote 41, Water and Sanitation, Honorable Van Zyl rose on a point of order that the Honorable Reddy had used unparliamentary language and requested that I rule on the matter. I indicated that I would consider the matter given that the Honorable Reddy, upon inquiry, confirmed using the word, but argued that the word is to be considered acceptable language, amongst others because, according to him, the word is contained in dictionaries. While I was ready to rule on the matter later during the debate, the member had left the mini-plenary before I could do so. The ruling, therefore, must now be given in a full plenary. Rule 84 provides that, and I quote, no member may use offensive, abusive, insulting, disrespectful, unbecoming or unparliamentary words or language, nor offensive, unbecoming or threatening gestures, end of quote. On examining the unrevised Hansard, the repeated use of the word was confirmed. It was also confirmed that the term is contained in the online dictionary, Wiktionary, which is a crowdsourced dictionary which includes, amongst others, slang and other neologisms. Crowdsourced dictionary which includes, amongst others, slang and other neologisms. However, importantly, Wiktionary identifies the term as being vulgar in nature. Honorable Reddy, just because language may be used in an informal setting and may be acceptable in some quarters in society, the bar for parliamentary debate is set at a higher level, and we must ensure that the manner we engage with one another and communicate with people reflects the dignity, the decorum, and the worthiness of this House as the representatives of the people. Honorable Reddy has been provided with a copy of the unrevised Hansard so that he's fully appraised of what I'm requesting him to withdraw. Therefore, Honorable Reddy, even though I don't want to say the word, and I'm going to ask you not to repeat it, you may just say withdraw. Please withdraw the unbecoming and offensive use of the word unfuckwithable.
I withdraw that
Thank
word
you.
I used unconditionally. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is the Honorable Moore.
Thank you, Honorable House Chairperson. As we debate the presidency's budget allocation, I want to today speak on the president's leadership in one of our gravest crises as South Africans, the national water crisis. In February, the president acknowledged what residents already knew from their empty taps. Water had become an issue of utmost national importance. He promised us a national water crisis committee. He promised a focused national response, and we were told that a water action plan would be ready by March. It is now June. South Africans are still waiting. I submitted a PIA request to the presidency to obtain this plan, to see what commitments had been made, what interventions were approved, what timelines were set, and how government intended to turn promises into water in people's taps. Instead of urgency, the presidency asked for more time, another month. That means that instead of an urgent plan in February, we are now in June with no public plan, no clear measurable targets, and no confidence that the presidency is treating this crisis with the seriousness it deserves. Honorable House Chairperson, South Africans do not live on promises. They live in homes where taps run dry. I come from Johannesburg, so I know very well that budgets on paper do not mean service delivery on the ground. A budget line does not repair a leaking pipe. A strategy document does not fill a reservoir. A press conference does not bring water to a mother who needs to bathe her child, cook food, flush a toilet, or care for a sick relative. This past weekend, after routine maintenance by Rand Water, suburbs across Gauteng were again left without water. From Atteridgeville and Olivenhoutbush in Tshwane, to Palmridge and Katlehong in Ekurhuleni, to South Hills, Deep Sloot and Brixton in Johannesburg. Black, white, Indian, colored, rich and poor, township, suburb, informal settlement and inner city. This crisis does not only affect one community, it affects South Africans. And while planned maintenance is necessary, a resilient system should be able to absorb routine maintenance without leaving communities desperate. That, colleagues, is the problem. Our systems have become so weak, so under-maintained, and so poorly managed that ordinary maintenance can push communities into crisis. And this crisis abounds across the country. In Palabora right now, residents have had no water for days because of the failure of a single pump. Families are suffering. Businesses are suffering. Public services are placed at risk. And the question must be asked, how were the rights of an entire community left to hang on a single dilapidated piece of infrastructure? Honorable House Chair, I speak today not only as a Member of Parliament, I speak as a husband and a father. I have a 2-year-old daughter. My mother-in-law is currently staying with us after major surgery. When there is no water, it is not a minor inconvenience. It affects hygiene, it affects health, it affects dignity. And for poorer residents, elderly residents, and for people who cannot buy bottled water or install tanks, the impact is far worse. South Africans understand how serious load shedding was. The water crisis is as serious, and colleagues, in some places, worse. But there is no single ESCOM to blame. Instead, there are over 100 failing water service authorities, municipal managers who did not maintain systems, mayors who did not prioritize infrastructure, water boards under pressure, pipes vandalized, pump stations neglected, reservoirs left to fail, and communities left to suffer. That is precisely why presidential leadership is required. The presidency exists to set national priorities. The presidency exists to coordinate government. The presidency exists to unlock blockages when departments, municipalities, and entities fail to act with the speed required. This budget vote must not be about more speeches and more promises. It must be an action budget. It must support real interventions when municipalities fail. It must demand measurable targets for reducing water losses, repairing infrastructure, restoring wastewater systems, and ending the indignity of water tanker dependency. Business as usual, Mr. President, continues to fail. Last year, 105 water service authorities were in distress. Now, there are 109 out of 144. Things are getting worse, not better. Stitching together old plans and calling them a crisis response is not enough. South Africans need a real plan, a plan with names, dates, budgets, targets, and colleagues, it requires consequences. Mr. President, if the National Water Crisis Action Plan exists, please release it. If it is already being actioned, prove it. Show South Africans that this government understands the scale of the crisis. Show residents from Katlehong to Palabora, from Deep Sloot to Atteridgeville, from rural villages to major metros, that they do not have to live without reliable water. South Africa does not need more excuses. South Africa needs action now, service delivery now, water now. I thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is the Honorable Zungula.
Ndimatekwane, President. When you came into power in 2018, you promised a new dawn, renewal, transparent and accountable leadership. The budget that you've tabled today is a repeat of what you've been saying since 2018, which has not yielded results. Instead, the country is worse off when it comes to unemployment, crime, economic growth, and other indicators. For instance, the price of petrol was 13 rands in 2018. Now it is 28 rands. You turn a blind eye on the oligopolies that constrain job creation, keep the economy in white minority hands. Critically, where you have control in government spending, you still spend over 80% on big white companies, and SMMEs that are black-owned get less than 20%. Even with the PIC, which manages assets worth 4 trillion rands, yet less than 200 billion is invested in majority black-owned companies. There can be no meaningful job creation without a local manufacturing drive. Why is the government allowing the destruction of local industries and destroying jobs in the process? Black South Africans are kept out of the informal sector, entry-level jobs, government contracts, and big industries. It appears as if there's an evil ploy to keep Black South Africans poor, unemployed, and out of economic activity. And you, as a president, are not confronting this evil. Minister Ntshavheni, deportations are meaningless if there's no physical infrastructure to protect the borders, and there are no mechanisms to track and trace foreign nationals that have overstayed their visas. Until you prosecute the companies that enable illegal immigration by employing the illegal foreigners, the problem will not be solved. Lastly, it would be amiss of me not to talk about the elephant in the room. You claim to be innocent on Palapala, yet you don't want an inquiry where you can clear your name with evidence. Mr. President, you've always said you are a student of the great Tatu Mandela. Umadiba subjected himself to the processes where he could be held accountable. He did not fight against accountability. The Palapala scandal broke out in 2022, and it was not by your doing. It took a whistleblower to inform the South African citizens about what transpired. From 2022 up until now, there are more questions than answers. Surely, Mr. President, you owe the people of South Africa answers. Let me tell you why we want the truth and answers on Palapala. You are the head of state with powers over the entire state. Whatever bills that are passed in Parliament need your signature to be law. You appoint judges that adjudicate on judicial matters concerning the people. You appoint ministers that preside over the affairs of the people. You represent the country in international engagements. If enemies attack South Africa, you are the only person that can declare war on those enemies. We want to satisfy ourselves that as you hold that powerful office of being head of state, you are not under any foreign, corrupt, or criminal network influence. We want to be certain that the president of the country only advances the national interests and aspirations of South Africans. Having undeclared foreign currency to the tune of millions for buffaloes that were never collected, and having a wrong investigation when those dollars are stolen raises questions which have never been answered. Mr. President, we will hold you accountable because of the power you
Thank
have
you,
over
Honorable
South Africans.
Zambula.
Thank you.
The Honorable Ishmael Musa.
Honorable Chairperson, Honorable President, honorable members of this august House, and beloved fellow South Africans. I greet you in the name of Almighty, the most gracious and the most merciful. I greet you also in the universal greetings and prayer of peace. Al-Jamaa has accepted the Constitutional Court ruling, and as fellow beloved South Africans, we do not stand here as enemies of the President of our country. Al-Jamaa believes this House should not allow it to become an endless political siege that paralyzes the national executive. Our debates and inquiry must not consume the oxygen of Parliament to the detriment of the real work that our people on the ground are waiting for us to do. We have the impeachment committee, let it run its course. The presidency remains a vital institution in our constitutional democracy, entrusted with providing leadership, strategic direction, and coordination across government. As we consider vote number 1, Al-Jamaa recognizes the significant responsibilities placed upon the presidency during a period marked by economic pressures, unemployment, global uncertainty, and the legitimate expectations of our people for a better quality of life. We acknowledge ongoing efforts aimed at strengthening governance, improving coordination between departments, and advancing South Africa's developmental objectives. These efforts are important and deserve recognition. At the same time, our people continue to face serious challenges. Many communities are still seeking improved service delivery, greater economic opportunities, safer neighborhoods, and more efficient government institutions. Al-Jamaa believes that accountability, transparency, and ethical leadership remain essential pillars of effective governance. We encourage continued efforts to strengthen oversight mechanisms, improve government performance, and ensure that public resources are utilized responsibly and for the benefit of all South Africans. Al-Jamaa further supports greater engagement with faith-based organizations, civil society, traditional leaders, and community stakeholders who contribute significantly towards social cohesion, nation building, and community development. Honorable President, South Africans continue to demonstrate resilience, hope, and determination despite many challenges. Our collective responsibility is to ensure that these aspirations are matched by practical outcomes that improve lives and restore confidence in public institutions. Let us strengthen partnerships, accelerate delivery, promote accountability, and work towards a South Africa that offers dignity, opportunity, and hope for all. Al-Jamaa supports the objectives of vote number 1 and remains committed to constructive engagement in advancing the interests of our nation and its people. Strong leadership is measured by the positive impact it has on the lives of our people. Our shared responsibility is to turn hope into opportunity and opportunity into progress, working together in accountability, service, and nation building. Building trust through service, strengthening hope through delivery, a nation united, a future secured, leadership with integrity, progress with purpose.
Thank you, Honourable Member.
I thank you. Malibongwe.
The Honourable Kohler.
There are those who believe the mafia was a Hollywood Godfather-style construct, irrelevant in 2026. It may have come as a surprise, though, to hear that there was a massive international policing effort last month, which hit the finance network of the late Sicilian Cosa Nostra boss, Matteo Messina Denaro, the 200 million euro estate, the hidden properties, gold, global assets, rigged poker games, fixed sporting matches, drugs, extortion, and finally, with 1,200 Italian officers, there were 150 arrested. The relevance to South Africa is absolute. How many South Africans behave exactly like Al Capone did in 1925? He was America's most infamous Prohibition-era gangster, the king of gambling, prostitution, bootlegging, running an empire with a turnover of $100 million annually. The public-facing war could have been that of so many South Africans today. Before the media, there was a cultivated image of a benevolent businessman. There he was, opening soup kitchens during the Great Depression and attending baseball games to show what a regular guy he was. On the flip side, the side the public were universally unaware of, was a morass of executions of rival gang members. He was seen as an upstanding member of the community until he wasn't. The St. Valentine's Day massacre revealed it all, but was he jailed for the dozens of particularly bloody murders? No. The police just could not succeed in making those crime charges stick. No. He was jailed for tax evasion, sent to Alcatraz, and died of syphilis. Now, it's ironic that here in South Africa, it seems the average person learns little from such history. However, we have some of the smartest criminals in the world. In fact, according to the Global Organized Crime Index, we're amongst the best, or the worst, according to your perspective, for organized crime networks. It's a fairly new innovation in this country. I stood on this very podium and called out the then infant construction mafia as it was first conceived in Umlazi. The warning was ignored. The so-called business forum soon spread to the Eastern Cape, to Gauteng, and we saw those networks threatening infrastructure, business operations with violence, with political and police enablers. And here we are, with every conceivable variation on the mafia theme. As the vast criminal network that's run amok for 30 years finally today sees police and politicians arrested in near equal numbers, civilians are beginning to understand the magnitude of the problem. The construction mafia started with demands of 30% of the work, which soon turned to 30% of the contract value to out-and-out protection fees. The taxi mafia is a highly lethal network governing the minibus taxis with heavily armed hitmen enforcing route monopolies. Any competition is simply Al Capone. They're using alternative transport or hauled out of vehicles as they attempt to go to work or school. And then as metros like eThekwini and Tshwane finally collapse in on themselves, up pops the water mafia. It goes like this. First, ensure the water reticulation system simply stops. No water in the taps. Secondly, spend billions on water tankers, often apparently owned by politicians. Finally, charge desperate citizens per bucket for what was free water. And if the driver won't oblige in terms of the extortion, simply remove him in the same way that whistleblowers are removed here today. Then there's the Big Five cartel based in Gauteng, and that dominates the big earners. Drugs, transnational vehicle theft and smuggling, high-profit kidnappings, contract killings. While South Africans are out shopping at Woolworths, or unless a bomb goes off, they live their lives totally unaware of the filthy underbelly of our country. There are the transnational scams, the cyber mafias, the copper and rail mafia that strips Eskom, Transnet and PRASA, extortion, rackets that demand protection money from spaza shops to multi-million rand developments. These mafias cost us billions. In eThekwini, I know of 11 businesses that have been simply closing their doors after endless harassment by groups demanding details of their staff or protection money. The owners just walked away. The result, massive unemployment, service stripped to the absolute bare minimum, salaries unpaid, potholes unfilled, sewage in our streets, electricity wires killing our children. Question is, where's our intelligence cluster? Billions have been spent on them. Apparently, as we heard during the Zondo Commission, much of it stolen, and expertise is flooding out the doors. We have inside the State Security Agency brilliant men and women who finally succeeded in getting us off the grey list. But who asks how we got there in the first place? I only have time to scratch the surface, but to trust a tubby, balding politician or police officer thinking he looks like your grandfather, perhaps it might be wise to picture the man who looked exactly as inoffensive when he ordered his underlings to commit murders that launched a generation of horror movies. We have to go to war with these mafias, and the Italians can do it. Well, if they can do it, so can we. Indeed, the Democratic Alliance ministers are cleaning out the rot in their ministries, cancelling the crooked contracts. I see the Minister of Public Works demanding answers about the PMTE's 70 million rand lease for a building that sits empty in Pretoria. Last week, the Border Management Authority, led by Minister Schreiber, seized a massive 1 billion rand drug consignment. Still, these ministers tracking down the countless ghost employees being paid exorbitant salaries and suspending crooked staff. However, until such catalytic moves are taken across every ministry in this country, the situation will not improve and our lives will be no better, no safer. Waging a war against these mafias should entail lifestyle audits published quarterly, asset forfeiture units funded like specialized forces, and whistleblowers given new identities, not the condolence speeches given to Babita Dokaran and Charles Kinnear. It looks like a police station where the station commander cannot be bought for the price of a second-hand SUV. The Italians didn't pray the mafia away. They passed legislation that made it impossible to hide wealth. They protected the judges. They jailed the mayors. We can do that, but first, we must want to, more than we want the convenience of looking away. It's up to South Africa to determine whether this is a Sisyphean task, endless, laborious, and ultimately futile, or not. That's up to us. I thank you.
The next speaker is the Honourable the Deputy Minister in the Presidency, the Honourable Mhlaule.
The Honorable House Chairperson, His Excellency President Cyril Ramaphosa, Ministers and Deputy Ministers, the Honorable Chief Whip of the Majority Party, who is actually here in the House today, unlike others who are actually in jail for fraud, Honorable Members of the House, fellow South Africans, good evening. I rise in support of Budget Vote 1, the Presidency. I do so with a clear understanding of the moment that we find ourselves in as a country. South Africans are not asking for more slogans. They are asking for government that is at work, that can be seen, that can be felt, and most importantly, a government that can be trusted. They are asking for a government that delivers on its promises, a government that does not work in fragments, and a government that is able to move from planning to delivery with urgency and delivery. Essentially, South Africans want a government
Valid
that
so that the
all,
exam-
especially the young people of this country, who constitute 59% of our country's population. The youth of this country have, for the past 50 years, since June 16, 1976 and beyond, demonstrated that they do not lack ideas, talent, and courage to stand up for their future. What they lack is access. Through the Presidential Youth Employment Intervention, which is the PYEI, launched by the President in 2020, we are actively expanding that door to access. The recently released Q3 results of the PYEI demonstrate real, quantifiable momentum in driving our transitioning young people from learning opportunities to earning opportunities. In addition to the figures already quoted by the Honorable Kanyase, by the end of Q3 2025-2026, more than 5.7 million young people had registered on the ESO Youth platform, with over 4.8 on the Employment Services of South Africa ESA system. Since its inception, the PYEI has facilitated access to more than 2.3 million earning opportunities for our young people. More importantly, 70% of the opportunities accessed through the SO Youth platform have been taken up by young women in particular, helping close the historical gender gaps. The Jobs Boost Outcomes Fund exceeded in its targets for this quarter, enrolling over 1.9 thousand young people, successfully placing 7.2 of those into sustainable employment. This is funding real outcomes. The revitalized National Youth Service continues its rapid expansion with an additional 100,000 opportunities currently available on estouth.mobi. And we therefore call upon young people who are currently sitting at home to register on the site and actually apply for these 100,000 opportunities that have just been advertised, and the closing date is September later this year. The success of the PYEI demonstrates the impact of deliberate policy choices made by the ANC-led government. The Youth Employment Services, which is a private sector-led initiative, which the President, in partnership with the Presidency, as mentioned by the President earlier on, has created over 228,000 youth jobs with an absorption rate of over 60% into full-time employment post the program. 17% of YES alumni have actually started their own businesses with support of the program across sectors. These are real measurable outcomes to the Honorable Kanyile. The reports are released quarterly, readily available on the State of the Nation website. I would therefore invite the Honorable Member to actually visit the website so that she can, in future, quote correct information and not the incorrect figures that she did here earlier today. Through sustained investment in youth employment and empowerment programs, partnerships with the private sector, and the allocation of public resources to create opportunities for young people, this government has enabled hundreds and thousands of youth to gain work experience, skills, and pathways into labor markets. This evidence, the PYEI is not an accidental success. It reflects government's commitment to tackling youth unemployment through targeted intervention and innovation. At a time when youth unemployment remains one of South Africa's greatest challenges, the program stands as evidence that government action can make a meaningful difference in the lives of our people. This evidence does not stand in isolation. It speaks to the 32 years of effective governance, which has made South Africa a far better country it is today. The propagandists want us to believe that this country has gone backwards, but in actual fact, the numbers as released by Stats South Africa in the General Household Survey last week tells a different story. Therefore, honorable members, allow me to recount the story of South Africa in numbers. And I urge the Honorable Lynchfield Chabalala to listen closely, as she clearly stated that she pinned her entire input on Idlozi, and unfortunately, Idlozi alinazi statistics. So here it goes. South Africa's total life expectancy at birth increased from 55.2% in 2022 to nearly 67% in 2025. 84% of households live in formal dwellings, and more than half of those own those homes. This is empirical evidence, Honorable Lynchfield Chabalala, that we are indeed housing the nation, not based on Idlozi. Earlier, the President recounted that we have gone for over a year without load shedding, and in addition to that, 94% of our households in South Africa actually currently do have access to electricity. Access to water and sanitation, to the internet. In addition to that, our state-owned company, which is Telkom, actually declared a near 560 million rand dividend to government in the past financial year. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the story of South Africa in numbers, with the Presidency at the apex of driving this delivery through effective coordination. It is a story of a nation in progress with real tangible development in the lives of our people, as affirmed by the Honorable Daniels. The Honorable Trollip stood here and purported to do an assessment of Chapter 9 institutions. He forgot that the very institutions that he relies upon as a Member of Parliament are in fact a function of this government as led by the Presidency. The Constitutional Court, the Public Protector, the Auditor General, the South African Human Rights Commission, the Independent Electoral Commission, the broader suite of Chapter 9 institutions were authored, established, and resourced by the ANC government. The Constitution itself, in its principal authorship, is the work of this particular President. Honorable Mamane, Ndicela uxelele umama uba nazi izinto ezenziwe zii-commissions of inquiry since you asked. Firstly, over 17 billion was recovered by the state to date as a result of the Zondo Commission. 2, the Mpati Commission cleansed governance at the Public Investment Corporation, which is Africa's largest asset manager. 3, the Nugent Commission restored the integrity of SARS and recovered tens of billions of rands in revenue. The Nkandla soldiers who spoke here today spoke about taxes, having forgotten that the reason that we have a SARS to speak about today is because of this very presidency. Those who sought to cripple this institution now sit here in opposition benches and want to lecture us about progressive taxes. Honorable President, of course, the Honorable Chirwa will call your presidency a presidency of commissions because the Madlanga Commission exposed the owner of the cult as having turned the city of Tshwane into his own personal ATM. The greed was so unbelievable that they even referred to him in the text messages at the Madlanga Commission as
Deputy
Imbungulu.
Minister.
The anger,
Honorable
in
Deputy
fact, is
Minister.
because of the shame
Order.
that is being
Honorable
exposed
Deputy
today.
Minister. Please take your seat for a moment. Honorable Lonzi, why do you want to be recognized?
Chair, I know comprehension is very difficult on the
No,
other
Honorable Lonzi, you either rise on a point of order or a
side.
point of privilege.
The member is simply misleading Parliament.
No.
There is no Madanga Commission.
Honorable
that saw
Lonzi.
anyone
Honorable Lonzi.
in the EFF to be
That's
implicated
not a
in the
point of
Madanga
order.
Commission. It's
Please
a lie.
Take your seat.
So,
Honorable Lonzi, take your seat. As it is, I see you on the speakers list. If you have a difference of opinion with this member, please come and tell us then. Honorable Deputy Minister, please continue.
I'll repeat. The Madlanga Commission has exposed the owner of the cult of having turned the city of Tshwane into his personal ATM. The greed was so unbelievable that they referred to him as Imbungulu. So the anger that we saw here earlier today is actually the shame of having been exposed. Mr. President, you have stayed true to the promise you made when you came into office, when you said the era of impunity is over. They can feel it on these benches, which is why they
Honorable
stand
Deputy
here to
Minister.
insult you.
Honorable Deputy Minister, please take your seat. Honorable Paulson.
Chairperson, the speaker at the podium is casting aspersions on a member of this House.
I don't want to.
Which member?
Order. I'm on the floor. Honorable member behind the Honorable Deputy Minister Morolong. If you unmute one more time without being recognized, I'm going to ask you to leave the House. Honorable Paulson, I don't want to add insult to injury, but which member did the Deputy Minister refer to?
Firstly, the House Chairperson, we are not stupid here, Minister. And we know that you refer to the EFF as a cult. And we know who you refer to as the owner of that cult.
Honorable.
And you are accusing
Honorable
that particular
Paulson.
individual
Honorable Paulson.
of corruption.
Please take your seat.
Chairperson, she can't hide behind innuendos all the time.
You
and you allow her to get
Order.
away. We are
Honorable
not stupid
Chairperson.
here.
Honorable Paulson. This Deputy Minister did not mention a party's name. No, I'm not going to debate this ruling with you.
Chairperson, you can't pretend that you don't know what she's referring to. And we are not stupid. And she's such a coward. She
Order.
hides behind
Honorable
innuendo.
Paulson.
And you allow her to get
Honorable
away
Paulson,
with it.
I've made my ruling. The ruling has been made. We're moving on. If you are aggrieved with the ruling, deal with it in terms of the rules. Honorable Deputy Minister, I have a hand there. Please, take your seat again, Honorable Deputy Minister. Honorable member at the back, why do you want to be recognized?
Chairperson, you have been threatening to remove us for frivolous points of order. You are not saying anything when the Red Berets, they are doing the same thing. Can you also threaten that they must be coded? You will take them outside.
Honorable member, I will apply the rules as I see fit. In the bigger scheme of things, this was only the second interruption. I've made my ruling. Deputy Minister, please continue. Honorable Deputy Minister, now your own whip don't want you to proceed. Honorable Dartmoor, please take your seat, Honorable Deputy Minister.
Chairperson, you've indicated consistency. The honourable member there made the statement in response to Honourable Deputy Minister that you lied. But we all noticed that you didn't say anything about the fact that he said that the Deputy Minister is lying. That is not consistent, and I appeal to you to be consistent.
Yeah, thank you. I've ruled his point out of order. Deputy Minister, please continue.
President, your presidency has in truth been characterized by the fact that no one is above the law, including the cult leader who's currently a convict, and that is why he's not in the House today. To the Honorable Mishe, there is no crisis. The instruments
Honourable
of
Deputy
accountability
Minister.
by this government
Honourable Deputy
shall continue
Minister.
to work.
Please take your seat. I have a hand at the back.
Thank you, Chair. Besicela usicelela uDP ukuthi angasicelela ubaba Ramaphosa ukuthi angalali emsebenzini and asivulele istatement sakhe sasebhenki. Siyabonga.
No, Honourable Member, that's not a point of order. Please, let's continue with the debate. Honourable Deputy Minister, please continue.
It's interesting that those with half of their caucus that's currently in court is speaking about stealing from the people. Honorable members, South Africans will judge the presidency by the number, not by the number of meetings convened. They will judge this presidency by whether government works better when it matters the most. Our duty, therefore, is to ensure that we do so with the urgency and discipline it requires. This budget vote is therefore a vote for a presidency that coordinates with purpose, monitors with discipline, and supports reform with urgency, and places the lived experiences of South Africans at the center of this work. It is a vote for a government that must work faster, work better, and account with more honesty. I submit. Thank you very much.
Is there a speaker on behalf of the NCC in this debate? If not, I recognize the Honourable the Minister of Land Reform and Rural Development.
House Chairperson, His Excellency the President, honorable members, from the outset, the Pan-Africanist Congress of Azania declares its support for the budget vote 1. As Africanists and Pan-Africanists, our politics is not driven by blind opposition, but by a deep commitment to our people and a structural understanding of the state. We view this budget not simply as a set of figures, but as an instrument for advancing the transformation, security, socio-economic renewal of our country. Mr. President, as directed by you, siyavuma ukuba zikhona as 2.5 million hectares of land, and we are going to fast-track i-transfer yazo and convert those lease agreements into title deeds. We are ready, and the list is ready. House Chairperson, the PAC proudly acknowledges the heightened international profile of our country, driven largely by the initiatives of the presidency. This includes South Africa's uncompromising firmness on the global stage regarding human rights and championing of self-determination and dignity of oppressed peoples worldwide. Furthermore, we welcome the aggressive drive for South Africa's exports, which must serve to give greater impetus to the industrialization of our economy and creation of local jobs. However, external development is meaningless without internal fortification. This budget must actively protect women, youth, and people living with disability. The youth, whom we all agree are the future of our country, are presently besieged by structural unemployment. We add our voice to the call for the call to wage uncompromising war against gender-based violence, which, as we all agree, is a national emergency. However, we cannot cure the symptom while ignoring the disease. We must attack the underlying causes of this scourge, which are the severe breakdown of our social fabric, generational trauma, and economic exclusion that leave women vulnerable to abusers. Finally, as we look at the ever-changing and highly volatile geopolitics, the PAC stresses the critical importance of strengthening our state security apparatus. We live in a world where certain foreign interests look at our vast mineral wealth and our lucrative domestic markets not as partners, but as predators. Our sovereignty faces continuous threats from international manipulation, compounded internally by sophisticated crime syndicates, and that have effectively put South Africa under a state of siege. If the state cannot protect its borders, its markets, and its streets, we have no nation to speak of. Let this budget be the shield that protects our wealth and the sword that cuts down organized crime. With these words, the PAC reiterates its support for the presidency budget. Vote 1. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The Honorable Mau Mapelo.
Motlotlegi Tautona, ne ke re ke tse tšhono ke go dumedise. Re dumedisa le matona a leng ka kwano mo letsatsi la gompieno le batlotlegi botlhe ba kgotlateo molao ya bosetšhaba. Honorable members, the Bureau for Economic Research has developed a scenario for GDP in South Africa, and they call it the African fish scenario. In that scenario, the Bureau for Economic Research projects that South Africa's economy by 2030 will hover around 2% growth. Our National Treasury does the same projection to say that by 2030, our GDP will be hovering around 2%. The World Bank makes the same assertion that around 2030, South Africa's economy, in terms of growth, it will be hovering around 2.3%. Now, I'm giving you these figures, honorable members, because when we talk about the challenges of geopolitics and how those challenges impact on South Africa's economy, we must be scientific in approach. We can come here and hurl insults at each other and so on, but we must bear in mind that if we do not adopt a scientific approach to the challenges that we face, we are not going to be able to provide alternatives to what the Bureau of Economic Research is telling us. President, you set a target in the investment summit that in the next 5 years, we must be at 3 trillion rand. Now, let's understand, honorable members, the Bureau for Economic Research, World Bank, and other institutions that deals with matters of the economy, when they do so, they look at all other variables, and some of those variables will include, for instance, what the president from time to time will say. So, the South African Investment Summit has achieved its strategic objective of over 2.8 trillion rand. So when they look at South Africa, these institutions of authority on economy, they will look at that progress that we are making because they are adopting scientific approach to problems of the economy. However, honorable members, we must also understand that we are pursuing the objective of building a better Africa and a better world under conditions that we do not control. I'll make an example. As we sit here, supply chains of the world are constrained because of the onslaught that is executed on Iran by Israel and the United States of America. As a consequence of that, the Strait of Hormuz find it difficult for transportation of goods and services to go through as a consequence of what is happening imposed on Iran by the US and Israel. So it's important, honorable members, that when we speak economics here, and we speak about the price of petrol, the price of goods and services, we talk about the prices of what our people are consuming. We must bear in mind that what is impacted upon the prices here in South Africa and the rest of the world is exogenous factors in the economy, because we don't have control over those exogenous factors. It is therefore very important for us to bear in mind that if you are a leader at the level of the president, you don't only consider what honorable members are saying here. You consider factors as a whole, including these exogenous factors that I'm talking about. The exogenous factors include the fact that we are in the world where midnight there might be trumpets which are imposing through Twitter, rattles around the world. And we have to respond to those particular situations. There is an honorable member who came here and make a point that we are doing nothing about illicit sale of cigarettes. Now, we have a challenge in the House here, honorable members, of a syndrome which I refer to as systematic memory lapse. Now, if you don't have systematic memory lapse, you will remember that on this platform here, Honorable Minister of Finance, Honorable Godongwan, indicated that we are losing around 70% of tax revenue as a consequence of illicit cigarettes. So we must not speak about it here as if it has never been referred to. Honorable Mekalaikis, you come here and say, sorry if I did not pronounce your surname properly. You come here and say there is a lack of political will in South Africa. And I want to say to you, Honorable Mekalaikis, President Ramaphosa announced the deployment of 2,200 soldiers to deal with matters of criminality here in the country. And you were in the House on that particular day. That's why I'm saying you might be encountering problems of memory lapse from time to time, because these facts were presented here in the House. One of the members also came here and attacked the ANC and says the ANC was absent during the Freedom Charter in 1955. Just in summary, the build-up towards 1955 Freedom Charter, one of the leaders of the ANC who went around the country to mobilize people, and there were over 50,000 people mobilized as a build-up, was the Black Pimpernel Nelson Mandela. And Nelson Mandela came from the African National Congress Youth League, Honorable Paulson. We must also remind you that here in Cape Town, as a part of build-up to the Freedom Charter, A leader of the ANC, ZK Matthews, was one of the leaders who led the processes that resulted in the culmination of the Freedom Charter. Now, I'm going to urge honorable members who are confusing what is objective, what is subjective in as far as South Africa's economy is concerned, because I don't have time. Please look at what China has done based on Deng Xiaoping's philosophy of opening up the market of China, therefore fusing in the variables of China's economy matters of marketism. So the Chinese have mastered the art of dealing with these matters of marketism. Honorable Reddy, when you go to a meeting for the first time as a committee of parliament, one of the first things that you do there is not to study a report. What you do in the first meeting of parliament, like the committee did yesterday, of impeachment, is to appoint a chairperson.
Honorable Mo.
Subsequent to the appointment of the
Honorable
chairperson.
member, just take your seat for a moment. Honorable Reddy, why do you want to be recognized?
Thank you, House Chair. Is the honourable member prepared to take a question?
I will inquire from him. You can stand down. Honorable member, are you prepared to take a question?
Yes, as soon as I'm done, Chair.
Okay. Please proceed.
When you arrive in a committee like you did yesterday, you elect a chairperson and the chairperson has been elected. It is only after the chairperson has been elected that the report will then come to that particular committee. But in addition, it's a memory lapse problem again. The speaker through the ATC circulated the report of Section 89 on the 11th of May to all of us here. We've got that report. So don't go to a committee and ask for a report that is in your gadget. There is also a member who came here and wants us, honorable members, to adopt what I call microwave diplomacy. Now, microwave diplomacy is when you seek simple solutions to complex problems. So they want South Africa to cut corners by adopting this microwave diplomacy. Now, we are not going to adopt microwave diplomacy because we as the African National Congress, we are a disciplined force of the left, which means as a disciplined force of the left, we will not seek to provide simple solutions to complex problems that are facing society. We will, for instance, at all material times, continue to call for the resolution of conflicts all over the world through engagement, by discussing. We will continue to call for engagement so that we can resolve conflicts that are facing the world. Honorable Bergman, I'm going to refer you to a book written by Johan Keynes, another one by Abalena. If you read those two books, they will tell you that a role of a state in building an economy is very critical. You come here and say the role of the state must be reduced in South Africa, and in the process of that, you confuse yourself. You say electricity is expensive, but at the same time you are saying the government must do something to resolve that, but at the same time you are saying the state must not play a role in making sure that you deal with them. So that's Confucianism, which is raging in your head. And you must liberate yourself from that confusion because it is self-inflicted. In the end, honorable members, we are calling for the African continent to unite, for SADC to come together, President, to address the challenges that we are facing with our fellow brothers and sisters who are here in South Africa, either illegally or legally. The only way is to talk as SADC and resolve the problem jointly. Ke a leboha.
The Honorable Dr. Mahlatsi.
Thank you, Chairperson. Rotom Africa. Honorable Mahuma Pelo, you're talking about contradictions. Last time I checked, your SG said you are center social. Today you regard yourself as a left. There is the contradiction. Budget vote one must be evaluated not mainly on expenditure, but on whether presidency is providing strategic leadership, policy coherence, constitutional governance, and public accountability. The effectiveness of presidency is inseparable from the credibility and the integrity of the president himself. The president was presented as the custodian of the Constitution, the champion of ethnic leadership, and the face of the fight against corruption. Many South Africans place their hope on this Tumamina project. However, the Pala controversy has raised serious questions about accountability, transparency, and public trust. The president, who campaigned on an anti-corruption platform, has found himself in the center of a saga involving a large sum of foreign currency. Whether or not the legal process has reached a final conclusion, the political and ethical question remain. The presidency cannot preach transparency to the nation, while the question concerning transparency continues to surround the highest office in the land. The presidency must therefore answer the simple question: how does it restore the public confidence when the conduct of the head of the state itself becomes a matter of national controversy? Equally important in planning, the presidency oversees the National Development Plan, the Medium-Term Development Plan, District Development Plan, and numerical sectoral strategy. Yet, one must ask whether these plans speak to one another. Are they integrated instruments of development, or have they become the parallel document read by separate officials in a separate department with a separate priorities? The governance challenge extends further. Does presidency have functioning policy coherent mechanism that ensure that all ministries move in the same direction? Or are departments operating as isolated islands pursuing disconnected priorities while communities suffer the consequence of fragmented and policy uncertainty? The UAT believes that South Africa requires a presidency that is beyond reproach, anchored in constitutionalism, accountability, ethical leadership, and policy coherence. The people deserve a government that acts as one government, speak with one voice, and lead by example from the highest office in the Republic. The UAT reject vote one.
Is there a speaker on behalf of the Good Party? If not, I recognize the Honorable Lonzi.
House Chair, the President has a tendency to run away when we speak here. He did it during SONA, and I see he's doing it again. But his colleagues will inform him. We must begin by conveying our heartfelt condolences to the family of Tlamolo Samo, a 19-year-old young man from Limpopo whose life was brutally cut short in Mossel Bay yesterday. We extend our sympathies to his parents, his sister, Nonhlanhla, and all those who loved him. It is believed that Tambulo was a victim of the lawlessness which has engulfed our nation over the past months and weeks. Welcome back, Mr. President. House Chairperson, the President and Commander-in-Chief of the EFF has for many years warned against the normalization of Afrophobic vigilantism and the hatred against Black Africans would eventually cost innocent South African lives. This is precisely because the cousin of xenophobia is tribalism. The cousin of Afrophobia is tribalism. The two are simply inseparable. Mr. President, what should concern you even more as head of state is that these vigilante groups are not operating in secret. They are breaking the law openly in front of law enforcement officers. They are building and assaulting people in front of the police. Why should we not believe that this violence is state-sponsored? Why should we not believe that this anarchy is sponsored by you as the state when crime is committed in front of those who are supposed to be custodians of the law? Where is the voice of the Minister of the Police? Mr. President, when you rise and respond here, you must reiterate and outline what you will be doing to address this crisis before more South African lives are lost. You must never get tired of explaining yourself to the people of South Africa. Mr. President, in your State of the Nation address, you stood before this House and committed to the employment of an additional 10,000 labor inspectors to protect South African workers from exploitation and address non-compliance with labor legislation. Where are the 10,000 additional labor inspectors, Mr. President? Your Minister of Small Business stood before South Africans and announced 500 million fund for spaza short for South Africans. Where is the 500 million fund for spaza short for South Africans? How many township entrepreneurs have touched it and felt it? Mr. President, in the same sauna, you promised the country a new university in Ekurhuleni, a promise which you made in 2020, by the way, 6 years ago. Yet the Minister of Education, Higher Education, has failed to identify a mere site, Mr. President. There is no site for a commitment that you made 6 years ago, no foundation, no construction team, and no building plan. Mr. President, these ministers clearly do not take you seriously. When a president speaks and makes a commitment before the nation, ministers and government departments are supposed to work around the clock, day and night, to ensure that the commitments made by the president become the reality. Yet, time and again, your promises are ignored by your own ministers. Do you not think that you have lost the moral authority to discipline them? Because leadership is not just about giving instructions. Leadership is about setting an example. How do you demand accountability from your ministers when South Africans are still waiting for accountability from you, Mr. President? How do you insist on transparency from your cabinet when the Phala Phala scandal continues to cast a shadow over your presidency? Mr. President, South Africans watched in disbelief as allegations emerged that millions of dollars were hidden and stuffed under couches in your private farm and residence. They watched as questions were raised about how that money got there, how much was there, and why was that money not declared. I heard some members of the ANC raising a point of order. It's not the EFF that said the money was not declared, it's SARS and the South African Reserve Bank. But perhaps the reason why so many South Africans remain uneasy about Phala Phala is because it reminds us of your questionable relationship with big business interests, Mr. President. It has revived questions that have followed you throughout your entire political life. You know, Mr. President, when many of us were growing up in the student movement, we were told that you were the preferred candidate for big business. We were told that you enjoyed the support and mentorship of the Rupert, of the Manel, and the Oppenheimer family. We were told that they regarded you as their guy. We were told that you are their protege we were told that when President Nelson Mandela chose Thabo Mbeki as his deputy president, you became so upset that you didn't even attend President Mandela's inauguration. You left politics, Mr. President, you went into business, and years later you came back. So the question we must ask is, what made you come back to politics, Mr. President? Who persuaded you to leave business and return to politics? We ask this because South Africa now knows that you tried to resign as president on 2 occasions. And this is not a rumor. Your national chairperson of the ANC, sitting right in front of me, confirmed this thing. Yet somehow you remained. Who exactly persuaded you to stay, Mr. President? Was it really the ANC leadership? Was it really those who sit behind you in this house? Or was the pressure coming from somewhere else, Mr. President? Was it Stellenbosch, which concluded that despite the crisis facing our country, you remain the safest pair of hands for their interests? Are they the ones who told you not to resign, even when unemployment remains at catastrophic levels under your leadership? Are they the ones telling you not to resign, even when millions of young people wake up every morning without hope of finding work? Are they the ones telling you not to resign, even when workers struggle with rising costs, rising petrol, rising diesel, rising wages, deepening their further poverty? Are they the ones telling you not to resign, Mr. President, even when municipalities are failing to deliver basic services to our people? Are they the ones telling you not to resign, Mr. President, even when the Constitutional Court told you and your party that what you did was wrong by using your majority to try and hide the truth? Are they the ones who are telling you not to resign, President, even when your own conscience is telling you to resign, Mr. President? Mr. President, Phala Phala is your Achilles heel. You know, when we watch movies, chair, couches, furniture, and things like fridges, beds, and wardrobes are often used by criminal syndicates to transport drugs, to transport money, to transport weapons, and even to transport and traffic human organs. They use furniture to conceal the criminal proceeds and move things around without and avoiding public scrutiny. This is why many South Africans will struggle, Mr. President, to accept the explanation that this money just found its way into your couch. Because when you hide money into the couch, you must first damage the couch. You must cut the couch. You must create a hole in the couch to stuff that money in. So what exactly happened in your Phala Phala farm, Mr. President? When people hear that millions of dollars were discovered inside furniture, they do not think about your ordinary farming operations. They think about the methods which are used all over the world by criminal cartels to hide things that cannot withstand public scrutiny. This is why you fear the impeachment committee. This is why the ANC fears the impeachment committee. We know that you don't care about the vote that will come at the end. What you are scared of is the scrutiny when we continue to dig deeper into what happened in the Phala Phala farm, Mr. President. And when that moment comes, you will sit alone on that chair. No network of powerful friends will be with you. No proximity to wealth and business elites will be able to shield you from the truth that will be placed on the records. Not the Ruperts, not the Oppenheimers, not Stellenbosch, not the Manels, and not even your own caucus of the ANC. Mr. President, presidents and prime ministers across the world have actually resigned for far lesser things. They've resigned for simple lies. They've resigned for simple scandals. But even when the Constitutional Court says to you, you are wrong, you are insisting on digging your heels in. Mr. President, history will not remember you for Phala Phala alone. History will remember you for refusing an opportunity to resign, even when the people of South Africa wanted to give you a dignified and honorable exit. Do the honorable thing, Mr. President, and resign.
The Honorable Douglas.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Members, people of South Africa. I greet you all in the name of my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ and in the language of the Khoi and San people, Kaites. As MKP, we reject vote 1 of the presidency. There is an African proverb which teaches us that the fish rots from the head first because leadership matters. The character, integrity, courage, and moral example of those who govern determine the destiny of a nation. Mr. Chair, in politics, perception matters. Not only my perception, but the perception of millions of ordinary South Africans who watch this parliament and ask themselves whether the same rules apply to those in power as applies to everyone else. The truth is that the public perception is that this parliament used the ANC majority and rules of this house to shield the president from full accountability regarding Pala Pala in the 6th parliament. And now the perception is that the GNU is doing the same in the 7th parliament and will do the same during the impeachment hearings, using their majority to whitewash and shield the president, even though there is a perception of guilt. The impeachment is already a mockery as the chairman is from the GNU, undercover, but Rise received more than 30 million rand from the Stellenbosch mafia, so they are already compromised and biased even before this process begins. Similarly, the public perception is that questions were avoided rather than answered by the president. So we need to see more of the president coming out and answering, and that's what we want in the impeachment or in court. Whether one agrees with that perception, the subsequent constitutional court findings that the president has a case to answer to this house and the public regarding Pala Pala is irrelevant and it's immediate and it needs to be done. Trust in public institutions is built not merely on legal outcomes, but on public confidence that leaders place accountability above political expediency. This is no longer the case in this house. This debate is therefore not just about the budget, but about the ethics of what a governing GNU majority can veto, defend, excuse, or explain away in this house by virtue of their majority, rather than what is the right thing to do. It is about what's expected from those entrusted with the highest office in the land. South Africans are not asking whether something or someone can survive a parliamentary vote, but is the president guilty of what was done? Has the president broken the law? That is important. And this house is selling its soul because it's not voting with its conscience, it's voting with its party lines. It's voting not for what's righteous and what's good and the character of a man. It is voting according to party lines and to defend someone that has been shown to be in the wrong. One of the most troubling developments under this budget has been the growing concentration of state power within the presidency itself. Today, the presidency exercises unprecedented influence over intelligence coordination, national security structures, key law enforcement appointments, military deployments, and strategic state decision-making, including the appointment of judiciary-like constitutional court judges. Through the National Security Council intelligence reforms, presidency-based coordination structures, and direct oversight mechanisms, more and more authority has been concentrated in the union buildings. Yet all that intelligence did not lead to uncovering corruption at the highest level. It took the bravery of General Mkhwanazi to reveal the truth, despite the president having all the power and knowledge at his fingertips. Yet despite this concentration of power, South Africa has not seen accountability. Increasingly, citizens perceive a state that acts swiftly and publicly against political opponents, like arresting MKP MPs, whips, and even illegally incarcerating President Zuma without a trial. Yet the same cannot be said about DA and insiders and ANC insiders found guilty of crimes. They are protected by this president. They are protected by this house. They are protected by the rules of parliament. How much of the rest of our members are genuine and how much is political persecution? How much is the president and others wielding the state influence, the state power to stop the rise of the people through MKP and through EFF and through other progressive parties? No, Mr. Chair, this is unjust. And where there is a perception of injustice, the people on the ground will take their anger to the street. And if they cannot get help from the politicians, they will take law into their own hands. And this is what has happened with March and March. And we as MK, we will support the people to rise up and to say no more. No more corruption. No more of hiding what should be out and be exposed. We need to see people held accountable. We need to see the president held accountable. Mr. Chair, the presidency has failed to address the most pressing issues of our generations.
Honorable Douglas, just take your seat for a moment. I have a hand at the back. Why do you want to be recognized, Honorable
House Chair, but these people are not debating a vote one. They are not relevant to the debate that is in the table.
Honorable Member.
They are speaking their own issues.
Hey,
their own
Oros
views,
from
their
Temo.
own anger.
Oros
They are
from
not
Temo.
saying anything about the-
Honorable Member. Please, honorable members to my left, don't unmute. I'm able to deal with this. Honorable Member, I have previously dealt with this matter and clarified that this is a political debate. No member has strictly limited themselves only to the budget at hand. Furthermore, I have warned you before that if you raise another frivolous point of order, I'm going to ask you to leave the chamber. Therefore, you must now please leave the chamber. Honorable Member, please leave the chamber.
Oros.
Order, honorable members. Honorable Member, I've made my ruling. Do you need assistance to leave the chamber? Will the sergeant at arms please assist the member to leave the chamber? Yeah, I can only recognize one hand at a time. I'm going to the whips. Honorable Sosana.
Yeah, no, thank you very much, Honorable Chair. No, Chair, we respect your ruling. However, I want to check because now it's a different speaker. It's not raising a point of order on the same speaker that he was raising before. It's a totally different speaker, Chair.
No, thank you. Even though you say you respect my ruling, you're actually challenging it. My ruling is final. Honorable Douglas, please continue.
You want to join him?
Honorable Douglas, just take your seat. Honorable Deputy Minister, is that a new point, or are you also going to challenge my ruling?
Thank you, House Chair, for recognizing me. House Chair, I want not to challenge your ruling, but to speak to it.
No,
House
but
Chair, the
that's-
honorable
there's
member
no
has
opportunity to do
raised
that.
Listen to
a
people.
point. Can I be listened, please?
Deputy Minister.
He has raised a point in the rules.
No.
In the rules, there's point of debate that
Thank
must
you.
be relevant.
I've made my ruling. The rules also clearly state that once the ruling has been made, it's final. You can take it
But
further with the
MK has
rules.
been abusing us the whole day.
Yeah.
That is unfair.
Honorable Douglas, please continue.
Mr. Chair, the public perception of government has not emerged from one
Douglas,
event.
I have another hand to my left. Honorable Member, I'm going to recognize you. However, Honorable Deputy Minister, I've not given you permission to unmute. Honorable Member, if it's not anything new, you also now run the risk of being declared as grossly disorderly. Please do not challenge the ruling. You have the floor, but unless you're going to raise something new.
When are you taking a break? Thank you very much, Honorable House Chairperson. I rise on a point of privilege.
Yes.
And I want to address you. You are abusing your power.
No.
And
Honorable
you
Member.
are abusing your power. You are biased because your ruling itself, it borders on biasness.
Thank you. That's
Because
your,
you are intimidating
Honorable
everyone
Member.
in this house. We've got privilege to speak as members of this
Honorable
parliament.
Member.
You can't be bullying us
Thank
like
you.
that.
Thank
you.
Yeah, you have now abused the rules yourself. I made my ruling, and it is final. Honorable Douglas, continue.
House Chair.
Honorable, thank you, Honorable Douglas. Honorable Daniels, unless it's something new.
Listen to people.
House Chair. I'm going to say what has not been said before. So for the record, I want to state that the Patriotic Alliance is in agreement with the previous speaker that we believe that you are abusing your power.
Yeah, no, thank you. It's interesting to hear the ruling still is final. Honorable Douglas, please continue.
We have seen inquiry after inquiry, promise after promise, yet for South Africans, life continues to get harder. There's more unemployment. The municipalities are running to the ground by this coalition government. Let me remind you that coalition governments are in charge of the municipalities today. They mustn't come make promises in our communities they're going to fix what is broken in communities, because they broke it. They broke the water. They broke the government. They broke the systems. And now they want to come get our sympathy. Mr. President, it all happened under your watch. So you need to take responsibility. We need a presidency that benefits our resources, industrializes our economy, pursues land justice, stands firm against external and hostile narratives, and stands for the interests of the people against global elites and the politically connected. We as MK, we say enough is enough. We as the Progressive Caucus, we are standing together, and we are saying we will not participate in this farce anymore. We have come to say what we have said, and we are done. We are out of here. Thank you very much.
Abahambe.
There's no dignity.
Order. Honorable members, I'm on the floor.
Abahambe.
Honorable
No
Reddy.
dignity. There is
Order.
Honorable Break the water.
Order. Honorable Reddy. Honorable Reddy. Honorable Reddy. Honorable
Tell us of
Reddy.
kiss. Break the water.
Honorable Reddy. Honorable Reddy. Honorable Reddy.
You see, Chair, friends are now your own friends, Chair. You've been defending Honorable Reddy.
Order.
You've been defending MK. You take away ANC member. Now you see your people. They don't even learn to listen to yourself.
Order, honorable members.
Already.
The next speaker is the Honorable Nodada.
Behavior by members who just walked out, it's a grossly disorderly conduct, because members can't mobilize each other and then stage a walkout like they did, Chair. So can you please make a ruling and, if possible, refer the matter to the relevant committee, please, Chair?
Thank you. I'll take the matter under advisement, and specifically the Honorable Reddy ignoring me while he was still in the chamber, and deal with it. Honorable Nodada.
Chairperson Malunga Begekileyo, fellow South Africans, ndiyanibulisa ngale njikalanga. Molweni. Mr. President, I was not meant to be standing at this podium today, but I insisted because I wanted to land this message directly to the presidency. Today, I could have been lying in a hospital bed fighting for my life, or my family could have been preparing my funeral while everyone in this parliament sent their condolences. This weekend, my friend and I were victims of a crime that almost cost us our lives. We were violently attacked. He was stabbed 6 times while I fought for my life against drug-addicted criminals who exploited a dark alleyway to Humid Beach Park, where stolen cables were never repaired, street lights did not work, bush clearing was not done, and there was no security patrol. I was almost a statistic of how the Nelson Mandela Bay municipality fails to keep our streets safe. Another headline, another grieving family. I was fortunate enough to make it out alive. Thousands of South Africans sadly don't. I've spoken many times in this House about combating crime and having functional municipalities to protect communities. However, that has fallen on deaf ears in many instances. I hope that today you will listen to the story and maybe take action in some of the proposals I'll make to you. Crime rips lives and communities apart. I am no exception. Thousands of families are victims of failing municipalities and unsafe streets. This weekend, I came closer to it, more than anyone ever wants to or deserves to. Had we not fought, had the response time been slower, the same fate suffered by countless victims of violent crime would be ours. We would be dead. Thanks to the Mount Road men and women in blue and the St. George's Hospital, we are now on our road to recovery. But gratitude alone cannot fix a broken system. Mr. President, criminals thrive when municipalities fail at the fundamentals, when street lights stay broken, when stolen infrastructure is ignored, when bushes become hiding places, when police are under-resourced, when local governments stop governing. That is the reality in Nelson Mandela Bay. Criminals are running riot in Nelson Mandela Bay. Yet Mayor Lobisha hollowed out our Metro Police. And despite being located in one of the Nelson Mandela Bay's most dangerous crime hotspots, the Woma SAPS satellite station has remained closed since 2017. And this is not an isolated failure. In a city where 126 Metro Police officers have only 3 working vehicles per shift, over 100 funded posts in the Metro's Safety and Security Department have stood vacant for nearly 2 years. Yet the municipality has spent 69 million on obsolete 15-year-old security equipment while leaving almost 80% of its safety and security budget unspent. So the little it managed to spend was wasted in overpriced, outdated equipment, while there aren't enough personnel, working vehicles or stations, or security cameras. This money should have been used for an effective camera network across the city to build an effective joint operations center for police, Metro Police, private security, and other emergency services, or to invest in technology already indispensable in Cape Town like shot spotters. How many vehicles or officers could the wasted 62 million have paid for? And could those officers have been patrolling the street where we were almost killed? Could they have been on patrol to stop murders of Ibanati Peter, Sinotando Malinga, Litalianda Antoni, and Michelle Ambral, who were killed in NMB just this year? Mr. President, the army deployment is a temporary measure that has yielded no benefit to gang-ridden areas like the northern areas. And worse, you praise the mayor of Nelson Mandela's Bay's self-proclaimed 80% performance, while residents endure crime, corruption, collapsing services, unemployment, water outages, and electricity failures. No family should have to live in fear because government cannot keep the lights on, literally and figuratively. So today, Mr. President, I'm asking for action, not condolences, not platitudes, just simple action. So I would like you, when you respond tomorrow, to commit to establishing a fully functional joint operations center in Nelson Mandela Bay, where police will collaborate with the municipality to ensure cables are fixed, bushes are cleared, cameras are installed, drone and other technologies used to find criminals, more boots on the ground through SAPS, Metro Police, and the private sector to make communities safer and prevent more people dying through gang violence and women and children being raped. The Nelson Mandela Bay Flying Squad is dubbed as the Dying Squad. No high-performance vehicles, 1 narcotics dog for the entire metro, 7 vehicles for anti-gang operations. Not enough, just 7. No wonder Eastern Cape, and particularly Nelson Mandela Bay, continue to rank among the country's leaders in murder and rape. But 80 kilometers away lies a different reality. In the Deer Run Gocha municipality, where they have invested in a 24-hour joint operations center, an ever-growing CCTV network, first responder drones, a security app for residents, license plate recognition technology, dash and body cams for the police. Same in the city of Cape Town, where we've got shot spotters. So, Mr. President, these examples prove something simple. Safer communities are anchored by competent and compassionate local governments. The DA will do everything in its power to ensure municipalities can deliver water and electricity, root out corruption, and fight crime to create environments of economic growth where people are lifted out of poverty. South Africans are indeed tired of speeches after funerals, tired of promises after statistics and endless calls for patience while criminals and gangs run their communities. So when you respond tomorrow, do not give us just simply words. Please commit to the action that I've requested today. Commit to actioning a joint operations center with devolved power to fight crime in the country's murder capital, Nelson Mandela Bay. Commit to properly resourcing the flying squad to fight gang violence. Mr. President, our lives begin to end the day we remain silent about things that matter. Otherwise, we too will end up in the grave of crime. If we fail to act against crime and local government failure, more South Africans will not merely lose hope, they will lose their lives. I thank you.
The Honorable Mahlaule.
His Excellency, the President Cyril Ramaphosa, honorable members in the House, fellow South Africans. We must first deal with and isolate political grandstanding in this House. Separate theatrical performance from the sober realities of governance, and to anchor this House back to the pragmatic vision delivered by our President. We knew exactly what the opposition would do today, and they did not disappoint. They brought poetry, anger, and grievances to the debate that requires economic logic, legal precision, and a commitment to the people of South Africa. The Honorable Litchfield came here and calls South Africa a growing neoliberal economy, and then uses that as a label and as a reason to reject the budget. We see that as an oversimplification of the debate. Our economic framework is actually a contested mix of market mechanisms and strong redistributive programs such as social grants, public services, and targeted industrial policies, none of which fit neatly into the textbook of neoliberal model. The real test of this budget is not an ideological slogan, but whether these allocations expand jobs, strengthen public sector, and tackle inequality. But anyway, she was not here to listen to the president and what he said. If the member believes that the economy is too market-driven, the logical step was to propose amendments to strengthen public investment and regulation. Simply walking away from the budget abandons the very workers and the poor communities they claim to defend. The honorable member invoked Sankara's line that you cannot carry out fundamental change without a certain amount of madness, as if that justifies irresponsible grandstanding in this House. Sankara was not calling for irrational governance. He was talking about the courage to break with old, unjust formulas and to invent a better future through principled, disciplined leadership. Fundamental change in a constitutional democracy still requires lawful, accountable, evidence-based decision about the budget. The madness Sankara spoke of is the moral bravery to confront corruption and privilege, not the political recklessness of rejecting every budget without offering a credible alternative. I was going to speak to Honorable Mkhitarama and tell him that I know a man who has used courts since 2005 till today to hide from accountability, and that is not certainly the President Ramaphosa. The courts today are dragging that man that I know and he knows, kicking and screaming to answer for his corruption case in Pietermaritzburg High Court. Maybe the right fingers Honorable Mkhitarama should look at are those four fingers which are pointing to his direction. The less said about Honorable Reddy's contribution, the better. He is a clear testament that the ANC kept crooks and cronies for too long within its ranks, and we can only be happy that they finally left the ANC so that it can renew itself without construction mafias, water tanker mafias, and all forms of criminality. You know, there's a very dangerous slogan which has been adopted by MK Party here. The slogan of Gwaza Mkonto, Gwaza. It has become more dangerous to themselves as opposed to their enemies. Since the beginning of the 7th administration, Bakwazana Botwa, they have been stabbing one another every day, and we can count many bodies who were here in this house and are not here today because of the spear. As we watch this unfold, we must not dare disturb them or even waste our energy on them. They will finish each other themselves with the spear. That spear has just stabbed its own chief whip now. Now that we are seated here, we don't have a chief whip. They don't have a chief whip in the MK. I wanted to speak also to Honorable Zungula, who is my friend, and remind him to go back in time and look at the time his party removed him as a leader of his political party. It was exactly at the time he and his party crossed the line and wanted to be one with MK. The spear, which is wielded by a madman, has hit him as a casualty. It did so because the man behind the spear is exactly how I have characterized him, a madman, and he will finish all his children even before the enemy advances. As we predicted that the EFF, through Honorable Paulsen, will stand here trying to claim a monopoly over the pain of the people of Palestine. The EFF's claim, which reduces the president's legacy to bravery over Israel, and that he has therefore failed, is misleading and politically motivated. Our movement's foreign policy has always balanced principle with prudence. We protect South Africa's national interest, uphold international law, and advance peace and human rights. Reducing complex diplomatic decisions to a single issue ignores achievements in service delivery, economic support programs, and social justice reforms that benefit the very millions that they claim to represent. Well, the very same theatrics were heard from Honorable Chirwa, who also claims that the EFF has monopoly over the pain of the landless in our country. And we do not see the issue of land merely as a political trophy. We understand that if we fail in equitable redistribution, we will deepen inequality and destabilize our democracy. But our approach is sophisticated and careful. Land is the primary economic sector and the geographic competitive advantage of South Africa. We are correcting the special biases of the past by ensuring the equitable distribution of public and private investment directly into rural and township economies. We are turning our townships from labor reservoirs into economic epicenters. And in doing so, we are not leaving our traditional leaders behind. So if the EFF genuinely cared about measurable outcomes that the President has spoken about, it would engage constructively on policy solutions instead of encouraging land grabs everywhere they go. The Honorable Kanyile of the DA's accusation that the presidential youth stimulus does not account for funds is incorrect and misleading. The program includes detailed budgetary allocation, transparent reporting mechanisms, and coordinated partnerships across national and provincial departments to ensure funds reach young people. This administration has already dispersed support through targeted grants, training stipends, and enterprise development funds. So instead of spreading unfounded doubt, what the DA should do is spend more time doing what a government is supposed to do, to serve our people fully instead of pretending to serve our people out there and denounce government when time for accounting in this house comes. You cannot part-time to be in government, unfortunately. It's either you are in or you are out. Honorable Milam, you should spend some time and energy advising the DA on how to build residents in Cape Town City. The residents of Cape Town want to know, when will the DA municipality refund their money, which it illegally charged? It charged them, and the court declared that it was unlawful. Don't be like a pot calling a kettle pitch black when they are burnt from the same fire. Isn't it ironic that Honorable Trolley comes here and lectures this house about failures of Nelson Mandela Bay when he was at the center of the coalition that plunged the metro into instability and decline? During his tenure as a mayor, the council became mired in factional battles, motions of no confidence, and government paralysis that directly undermined service delivery and public confidence. So when he now pretends to speak as a clean outsider, South Africans must remember that he helped create the very conditions he condemns today. Honorable Daniels, there are some people that are out here in red overalls. They used to insult Minister Mackenzie and called him a pantiti. Now the tables have turned, and we have a pantiti who is just waiting to change from red to orange overalls. And if the revelations at the Madanga commissions are to go by, we are still to see this pantiti having extended stay in prison. All in all, we have an opposition that offers nothing but grievances, slogans, and attacks our democratic institutions. They want a spectacular crisis because they thrive in chaos. We leave the rhetoric to the benches opposite us, and we take the work to the people of South Africa. I thank you.
Thank you. Honourable members, that concludes this budget vote debate. The Honourable President...
Malibong, where?
Order, please. The Honourable President will have an opportunity tomorrow to reply to the debate. That concludes the business for the day. I request members to stand and remain standing until the presiding officer and the mace have left the chamber.
Chairperson.